Varanasi, a holy city situated on the banks of the Ganges River, is an ancient city that never sleeps, where traces of history, tradition, and ritual intertwine in a majestic and awe-inspiring harmony. Varanasi, also known as Kasi, meaning city of light, is a place where life and death meet in an eternal dance of destiny. For many Indian Hindus, dying in Varanasi or having their ashes scattered in the Ganges River is a way to achieve moksha, meaning liberation from the eternal cycle of birth and death. Varanasi is believed to be one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. Legend has it that Varanasi was built by the hand of Lord Shiva, who intended to make this place his abode on earth. Varanasi's name is even mentioned in the Rig Veda, one of the oldest texts in human history, and has been a center of wisdom and enlightenment since ancient times. For thousands of years, Varanasi has been a center of culture, philosophy, and religion. Emperor Asoka, the great ruler of the Mauryan dynasty, is said to have built numerous temples around Varanasi in the 3rd century BC, demonstrating the city's spiritual significance even in the earliest days of Indian history. While waves of colonization reverberated across India, from the Mughals to the British, Varanasi remained steadfast as an unrivaled spiritual center. When the sun rises in Varanasi, the world seems reborn. The golden light of the morning sun splashes on the waters of the Ganges, as if the universe is celebrating life. And here, on the tranquil banks of the river, thousands of people come daily to wash away their sins in its sacred waters, undergoing a purification ritual passed down through generations. It is a moment when people stand naked before the universe, feeling eternity at their fingertips. One of Varanasi's most striking rituals is the Ganges Aarti, a ceremony that combines the elements of fire, water, prayer, and dance in a sacred choreography that inspires awe. Every night, priests dress in beautiful traditional attire and light oil lamps, twirling and waving the flames in a dance in praise of the goddess Ganga. The fragrant smoke of incense fills the air, while sacred mantras flow harmoniously to the flowing waters of the Ganges. This atmosphere creates a magical feeling, as if gods and mortals are united in a spiritual feast. Amidst the hustle and bustle of Varanasi, there are figures who have renounced worldly life, pursuing a solitary path filled with contemplation and solitude. They are ascetics, known as sadhus, individuals who have devoted their entire body and soul to the spiritual path. They generally wear very simple clothing, usually just a piece of orange or white cloth wrapped around their bodies, or even go without clothes altogether, symbolizing their renunciation of worldly possessions and material interests. Ascetics let their hair grow long and tie it into a jata, or dreadlocks, symbolizing a wild and unattached lifestyle, similar to that of Lord Shiva, who is depicted with his hair tied up in a high ponytail. This hair also symbolizes their separation from physical comforts and worldly life. These ascetics often smear their bodies with ashes from crematoriums, symbolizing the death of the ego and union with the universe. This ash is considered sacred and symbolizes the cycle of life and death. They also typically wear necklaces made of rudraksha beads, a kind of prayer beads, with 108 beads used to count mantras during meditation. This necklace symbolizes their devotion to Shiva and affirms their intention to achieve liberation. Ascetics typically live in simple ashrams, caves, or on the banks of the Ganges. They have no permanent residence and frequently wander. Their lives embody the principle of non-possession and non-attachment. On the banks of the Ganges, they live a life of wisdom, patience, and silence, deeply entwined with the pulse of Varanasi. For these ascetics, Varanasi is not just a city, but a sacred place that offers a path to enlightenment. They believe that here, amidst the narrow alleys teeming with spiritual energy, they can attain liberation. They consider Varanasi a place where the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds is thinned, where every breath is a prayer and every step is a dance of the soul. Sadhus are seekers of truth, spiritual adventurers who take the path less traveled. They renounce worldly ties such as family, possessions, name, and identity to delve into the depths of their souls as part of their journey toward spiritual liberation, or moksha. Moksha, liberation from the cycle of repeated birth and death, is the primary goal of Hinduism. This act is not merely symbolic, but also a concrete effort to free oneself from all worldly interests, which are considered obstacles to achieving enlightenment. Sadhus believe that family ties create emotional attachments and a sense of responsibility that can hinder one's spiritual journey. Family relationships are often considered a major obstacle, keeping individuals bound by the concept of maya or illusion, as well as by samsara, the cycle of birth and death. Therefore, ascetics renounce family ties to achieve a state where they are no longer bound by emotional attachments. For sadhus, name and identity are manifestations of ego and self-interest. Sadhus believe that to achieve enlightenment, one must let go of ego and personal identity. By letting go of name, they seek to eliminate all attachment to the past, social status, or background, thereby recognizing themselves as souls free from worldly limitations. That's why, when someone enters the ascetic path, they are often given a new name by their spiritual teacher, usually one that reflects an aspect of God or a spiritual concept. This name replaces their worldly identity and symbolizes their transformation into a spiritual life. Their simple clothing symbolizes ego death and union with the Creator. They live conditions unimaginable to most, fasting for days, sleeping on hard ground or sitting in deep meditation, letting time flow by without any concern. Each day is a continuous devotion. Sadhus make sadhana, or spiritual practice, the core of their lives. For sadhus, life is a journey toward union with God. Therefore, they can be found meditating throughout the day in complete silence, often for hours, sometimes days, even weeks. In this meditation, they isolate themselves from the world, seeking to reach a state where the boundaries between self and the universe disappear and their souls are dissolved in the ocean of eternity. Some of the ascetics were aghoris, hermits who led lives of extreme practice, living in cemeteries, facing darkness, sitting beside funeral pyres, and staring death in the face without fear. By contemplating the transitory nature of life, they discovered the truth about the immortality of the soul. They smeared their bodies with cremation ashes as a reminder that death is merely a transition and life is merely an illusion. These ascetics lived a lifestyle unlike anything most people could fathom. They forsook physical comforts, seeking neither delicious food nor material luxuries. Many subsisted on occasional meals, relying on what pilgrims or locals gave them as alms. They drank the water of the Ganges, viewing it as a sacred nectar that blessed their bodies and souls. Nevertheless, the lives of the ascetics in Varanasi were paradoxical. On the one hand, they appeared detached from the world, living in silence and simplicity. But on the other, they were keepers of the spiritual flame, torches that illuminated the path for souls lost in the darkness of worldly life. They are proof that true happiness is not found in material possessions or pleasure, but rather in union with God in simplicity and humility. In their daily lives, these ascetics often practice yoga, a physical practice accompanied by deep breathing and concentration. For them, yoga is not just physical training, but a way to unite mind, body, and spirit, bringing harmony to every breath and movement. They also practice tapas, which means penance through simplicity and discipline. In tapas, some hang upside down from tree branches, standing on one leg for years. The goal is to burn away negative karma and cultivate the mind to reach the highest level of consciousness. For the sadhus, it is not about suffering, but about transcending the limitations of the body and finding true freedom. On the other hand, among Hindus, sadhus are considered holy souls who have attained the highest level of consciousness. They are viewed as embodiments of Lord Shiva or as rishis who preserve ancient knowledge. They are often honored by greeting them, touching their feet, or offering alms in the form of food or money. The hermits became teachers and guides to many who came seeking enlightenment. They gave lectures, taught mantras, and led ceremonies. Many pilgrims came to them seeking guidance on life, karma, and spirituality. In a society filled with diverse faiths and castes, ascetics serve as spiritual bridges. They remind people of the equality of all human beings before God, eliminating caste and social status. Moreover, sadhus play a vital role in the economy. They attract thousands of pilgrims, supporting the tourism industry, hotels, markets, and sellers of religious goods. Because of them, local artisans create statues, jewelry, and clothing, specifically to meet the needs of pilgrims and sadhus. Varanasi is a living legend, a city that refuses to submit to worldly rules, a world where miracles are part of everyday life. As for sadhus, they are not simply residents of this city, they are guardians of its energy. They keep ancient rituals alive, carrying the spiritual power that keeps Varanasi shining as a spiritual center in India. They are people who have dedicated their lives to discovering the true nature of existence through unwavering discipline. They possess unique attributes and lifestyles, reflecting their journeys towards spiritual liberation.